It's been titled A Banquet and a Dance. I believe the banquet is in the basket up here on the front pew. We have fish crackers for everyone. The dancing part, I think, is up to you. If you'd like to dance in the aisles, that would be fine. There'll be plenty of music tonight that you'll want to get up and dance to, I'm sure. I believe in tonight's performance, we have represented all 14 of Gilbert and Sullivan's collaborations. And so I'll be doing a little bit of by the numbers here in the introductions. Also, the important thing about tonight, being a benefit concert, is we are raising money for UMGASS, and there is a donation jar in the lobby, and you can also make donations at any time, of course. And we are, for the first time ever, live streaming the benefit concert, or I think we are. Yes, we are live streaming the benefit concert. And so from time to time, since we don't have any way of telling exactly how many people are streaming the concert at this time, I'll refer to the millions of fans that are watching us either on the YouTube channel of Zion Lutheran Church, our hosts, thank you very much, Zion Lutheran Church, or on the Facebook live stream on UMGASS's Facebook page. So the first number tonight is from the Pirates of Penzance, very familiar to all of you. The fifth collaboration of Gilbert and Sullivan, debuted on December 31st, 1879, so we're approaching the 140th anniversary of that debut. The first performance that UMGASS did of this piece was in November of 1949. So we're talking about 70 years there, so roughly the same amount of time from now till then as from then till when it debuted. It was the fifth show that UMGASS presented, fifth different show that UMGASS presented. It's been presented 14 times, the last time in April of 2017, and playing the role of Mabel in that production was Amanda Zaitis, and she will be our first featured soloist singing a song from the Pirates of Penzance. You'll recognize the title. It's called Poor Wandering One. We're also encouraging you in this particular number, and we've given you words in the program, to sing along on the chorus. So please join us in between verses, singing the refrain to Poor Wandering One from the Pirates of Penzance. Thank you, Amanda. I'd also like to mention to the millions of fans watching on the live stream that there's a GoFundMe page set up on the Facebook group, the UMGASS Facebook group. So if you could not make it here tonight and you do want to donate to UMGASS, you can do so on the Facebook page through the GoFundMe page. So please do that now. You can do that if you're here, if you brought your phone along with you. You can go there now. Or again, there's a jar in the lobby. The next show represented in our tour of Gilbert and Sullivan here is The Sorcerer, which was the third collaboration between Gilbert and Sullivan, debuted in November of 1877. The UMGASS debut of The Sorcerer was not until April of 1954, and as most of you know, UMGASS was founded in 1947, so that was 7 years later. It was the 12th show done by UMGASS of the Gilbert and Sullivan repertoire, so there were only two that took longer than The Sorcerer for UMGASS to get around to. It was presented in a double bill the first time in April of 1954 with Thespis, oddly enough. And today we will have UMGASS regulars, Don Regan, who's over on this side, and Heather Nordenbrock, who's over on that side, and they will be playing the roles of Sir Marmaduke and Lady Sangajur from The Sorcerer. You may have seen, of course, Don played this role 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, in the 2016 production, the most recent production of The Sorcerer. Then he was promoted to King Hildebrand and Princess Ida, and then demoted again to the Prince of Monte Carlo. You may have seen him 2 months ago in our production of The Grand Duke. Heather played the role of Bertha in The Grand Duke, and she will be playing the role of Inez in our upcoming production of The Gondoliers, which is coming up in 2 months. In April, you'll want to see that. And so now these two will join to sing Welcome Joy from The Sorcerer.
Welcome joy, adieu to sadness, as aurora is the day. Through those eyes, twin orbs of gladness, chase the clouds of care away. Irresistible incentive bids me humbly kiss your hand. I'm your servant, most attentive to command. Wine of adoration, mad with fascination, to indulge my lamentation, no occasion do I miss. Going into distraction, my maddening inaction, I find some satisfaction in a posture like this. Sang as you immortal, sang as you divine, welcome to my portal, angel only mine, immortal, divine, angel only mine. Irresistible incentive bids me humbly kiss your hand. I'm your servant, most attentive to command.
Sir, I thank you most politely for your graceful courtesy. Compliment more truly knightly never yet was paid to me. Chivalry is an ingredient sadly lacking in our land. Sir, I am your most obedient to command. Wild with adoration, mad with fascination, to indulge my lamentation, no occasion do I miss. Going to attraction, my maddening inaction, I find some satisfaction in a catastrophe like this. Marmaduke immortal, Marmaduke divine, take me to thy portal, loved one, all be mine. Immortal divine, loved one, all be mine.
Elevation, mad with fascination, to indulge my lamentation, no occasion do I miss. No occasion do I miss.
occasion do I miss? To indulge my lamentation, no occasion do I miss? What with adoration and lamentation?
What adoration is a manifest nation to indulge my lamentation, no occasion do I miss. You're most obedient. You're most obedient to
Just a reminder to the kids in the audience and in the millions of viewers, counterpoint is dangerous. Don't try this at home. Our next selection is from Thespis, which I mentioned was done first by UMGASS in 1954. It was the 11th production done because it was done as a curtain raiser for The Sorcerer, so Thespis counts as the 11th and Sorcerer as the 12th production that was done of the 14 Gilbert and Sullivan shows. It premiered, it was Gilbert and Sullivan's first collaboration, and it premiered the day after Christmas, Boxing Day of 1871. And performing a number from that show, Little Maid of Arcady, one of the few numbers that survives because the score of Thespis, as many of you know, was lost. Some of it reappeared, of course, in Pirates of Penzance as Climbing Over Rocky Mountain, and some of it survived as a popular parlor song, which is the song that Makoto Takata will be singing for us now. The role in Thespis is Sparkion. It would be pronounced Sparkeon in actual Greek, but Harry Benford says it should be Sparkion because he thinks Gilbert was probably more interested in the pun than in the actual Greek pronunciation. And what Harry Benford says, UMGASS takes as gospel. You may have seen Makoto, he's here somewhere, oh, there he is, as Florian recently in Princess Ida, which he lists as his favorite Gilbert and Sullivan show. And he will be seen as Annibale in The Gondoliers coming up in April. Did I mention that they're doing a show in April, The Gondoliers? So now singing Little Maid of Arcady, it's Makoto Takata.
Happy maid of Arcady, happy little maiden she, happy maid of Arcady, happy maid of Arcady. Moments fled as moments will, happily enough, until after, say, a month or two, Robin did as Robins do, weary of his lover's play, jilted
Thank you, Makoto. Thespis has only been done twice in UMGASS's history, which is now stretching out to 72 years. It's the least often done of all the pieces for obvious reasons, because the original score does not exist. Next up is a song from the second collaboration of Gilbert and Sullivan, which is the only one-act Gilbert and Sullivan piece, which is Trial by Jury. The song name is With a Sense of Deep Emotion. Trial by Jury premiered March 25th, 1875. The first version of it done by UMGASS was in 1953. It was the 10th of the 14 productions by Gilbert and Sullivan that UMGASS attempted. The most recent one was July of 2006, and I happen to know that because I was in it. Played the learned judge in that one. Today, we have featured performers in this particular number. Matt Grace, who was last seen as Major General Stanley in our production of Pirates that I mentioned earlier in 2017. As the plaintiff, we have Beth Ballbach, who is probably the most frequent choreographer in UMGASS history. I don't know that we've done an actual study of that, but I believe if you put the numbers together, she will have more times as choreographer than any other choreographer in UMGASS history. We have Phil Rhodes as the defendant. Phil has been in most of the UMGASS productions in recent years. You may remember him as far back as his performance as the Pirate King in Pirates 2013, which he lists as one of his favorite roles. He was promoted to King Gamma in our recent production of Princess Ida, and he will also be seen coming up in The Gondoliers. And who else? And of course, the organizer of this whole little event here is Natan Zamansky, who's also the company promoter on the board of UMGASS. He put together this program, and he will also be featured in this selection from Trial by Jury.
May it please you, my lord,
Phil will be seen in some later songs in the program, so I hope he didn't wear out his voice in that one. This next song will feature a solo turn by Natan Zemansky, who I just mentioned was the organizing force behind this particular benefit and is a member of the board. It's a song from Iolanthe, sort of. It's a song that was cut from Iolanthe. There were originally two songs, one for Streffen and one for Phyllis, solo songs that were planned for Iolanthe but didn't actually make it into the score. The one that Natan will be performing is called Fold Your Flapping Wings. Iolanthe debuted November of 1882. Its first performance by UMGASS was in May of 1950. It was the 6th show they attempted, and it has been done 14 times, including just this past spring in April of 2018. Natan, of course, just finished a successful turn as Grand Duke Rudolph in The Grand Duke, and he has been typecast as the Duke of Plaza Toro in The Gondoliers. He will soon be seen as Duke Mantee in The Petrified Forest. Is that correct? No. Now, Fold Your Flapping Wings, Natan Zemansky.
What joy to carry in the very teeth of ministry, cross-bench and opposition, some rather urgent measures quite beneath the ken of patriot and politician. Fold your flapping wings, soaring legislature, stoop to little things, stoop to human nature. Never near to wrong, members patriotic, let's begin at home. Crime is no exotic, bitter is your pain, terrible your trials, dingy Drury Lane, soapless 7 dials. Take a tipsy lout gathered from the gutter, hustle him about, strap him to a shutter. What am I but he, washed at our sated, fed on filigree, clothed and educated? He's a mark of scorn. I might be another if I had been born of a tipsy mother. Take a wretched thief through the city sneaking, pocket handkerchief ever seeking. What is he but I, robbed of all my chances, picking pockets by force of circumstances? I might be as bad, as unlucky rather, if I only had Pagan for a father.
Strong words for a character that's half fairy. Next up is a song from Ruddigore, at least according to the program that I have. It is a tune called I Know a Youth. It features Makoto Takara that we just saw and Beth Ballback that we also just saw. Ruddy Gore was the 10th collaboration for Gilbert and Sullivan, premiered in 1887 and closed in November of 1887, ran for 288 performances, and I make note of that because my paternal grandfather was born during the run of Ruddy Gore. How about that? UMGASS's first production of it was in November 1951. It was the 8th of the 14, and it has been done 13 times, most recently in December of 2014. So now performing the song I Know a Youth from Ruddy Gore, Makoto Takata, and Beth Ballback.
Timid as a youth can be.
I know a maid who loves a girl in truth. But she sickens as the days go by. She cannot tell him all the sad, sad truth. But I think that little maid will die.
Poor little man,
Poor little maid.
poor little man.
Poor little maid.
Tell me, pray, and tell me true, what in the world
Should the
can do? He cannot eat and he cannot see, but his face is a sight for to see. Daily he works for to wail, for to weep, but he's wretched as a youth can be.
She is very thin and she is very pale. But she sickens as the days go by. Daily she goes for to weep, for to wail. But I think that little maid will die.
Poor little maid,
Poor little man.
poor little maid.
Poor little man.
Now tell me, pray, and tell me true, what in the world
Should
should
the
the young
maid
man
If I were the youth, I should offer her my name. But her face is a sight for to see.
If I were the maid, I would fan his honest flame. But he's bashful as a youth can be.
If I were the youth, I should speak to her today. But she sickens as the days go by.
If I were the maid, I would meet the lad halfway, for I really do believe that timid youth will die.
Poor little man.
Poor little maid,
Poor little man.
poor little maid. I
Thank you, sir,
for your counsel true, and tell that
maid
what he ought to do.
Ruddy Gore, of course, takes place in a small fishing village, so I think everyone should go for the fish right now. That's what we have right up here. Fish. Next up is a song from the Gilbert and Sullivan collaboration, Patience. Patience being the 6th collaboration between Gilbert and Sullivan, opened in April of 1881. The first production for UMGASS was in May of 1949. It was the 4th show they attempted of the 14, and it has been done 14 times. The last time, I can't remember. When was the last? Oh, December of 2015. I have a vague memory of directing that particular production. In this number will be Caitlin Glimko, who was last seen as Elsa in The Grand Duke last term, and I think that was your first term with UMGASS. And she's also going to be playing Vittoria in The Gondoliers coming up. And the return of Heather Nordenbrock, who you saw a few songs ago. She will be playing the role of Angela to Caitlin's Patience in the song Long Years Ago from Patience. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Heather. Next up is a song from a show you may or may not have heard of. It's not very popular. It's kind of obscure. It's called The Mikado. However, the song itself is a little bit obscure because in 2 of the 3 productions of The Mikado that I was a part of with UMGASS, the song was cut. It's a song called See How the Fates Their Gifts a Lot is the first line. And in the 2006 version that I was in, and also in the 2015 version that I was in, it was cut. But it was capped in the summer show version in 2008, so I have heard it before. Some of you, of course, you all saw that production, right, out in Jackson with the Michigan Shakespeare Festival. So some of you may have heard it. We have returning to the stage Beth and Matt and Natan and Don, and also we have joining them is Lori Gould, who is the longtime staff advisor and in her 20,000th semester with 45th semester with UMGASS, so she's soon to receive her 50th semester pin. She has been behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, stage managing, building jewelry, and also seen quite frequently in performance. And these 5 persons will bring this quintet to you now. See How the Fates Their Gifts a Lot from The Mikado. First performed by UMGASS in 1947. It was the first show UMGASS ever did in December of 1947. The last time they did it was in April of 2015. It was the 16th time they've done that show, more often than any other.
See how the fates their gifts a
Next up, we have another tune from the Pirates of Penzance, which we heard earlier in the program. This one will feature Makoto again, and our freshly arrived performer, straight from a trombone gig, I'm sure, something like that, Chris Kendall, who played Frederick in our most recent performance of the Pirates of Penzance, and he will be reprising that role here today. I sent out a request for information for the various performers, so I'd have things to talk about them, and Chris did not return his. It's a big surprise, but he did not return his. So I am saying that Chris's favorite UMGASS role is Ernest Dumkopf in The Grand Duke, because that's what I cast him as the last time out. So now performing the song Old False One from the Pirates of Penzance, Makoto Takata as Ruth and Chris Kendall as Frederick.
Oh, false one, you have deceived me.
I have deceived you.
Yes, deceived me. You told me you were fair as gold,
Master, am I not so?
and now I see you are plain and old.
I'm sure I'm not just so.
Upon my innocence you play.
I'm not the one to bless.
Your face is lined, your hair is gray.
Right away, not so.
Faithless woman, to deceive me, I would trust it so.
Master, master, do not leave me here where you go.
Faithless woman,
Master, master,
faithless woman,
master, master,
faithless woman, to deceive me, I would trust it so.
master, master,
Woman,
do
to
not
deceive me, I would trust it so.
my love without reflecting. Oh, do not be rejecting. Take a maiden tender, an affection raw and green. At very highest rating has been accumulating summer 17. Don't be loving, master,
Save you from disaster. Love will be uncomfortably fervid, it is clear. As if you are stating, has been accumulating 47 years. Faithless woman, to deceive me, I who trusted so. Faithless woman, to deceive me, I who trusted so.
The concert format, of course, gives us an opportunity to do a little bit of non-traditional casting. But in this case, I'm just not buying that Makoto is 47. Next up, another performer who's reprising a role he performed in recent years. This is from back in 2012. Phil Rhodes did the role of the bosun in HMS Pinafore, which of course was the fourth Gilbert and Sullivan collaboration, debuted in 1878. It was the second production that UMGASS did after their production of the Mikado in 1947 in May of 1948. and the most recent one was in April of 2016. But the one before that was the one in which Phil played the bosun and gave us the stirring rendition of He Is an Englishman. I think we also have in your program some words if you'd like to sing along. You don't actually have to be an Englishman to sing along, although it might help. Phil Rhodes. Pretty amazing in 4 short years between 2012 and 2016 to be promoted all the way from bosun to captain, which he played in the 2016 Pinafore. Next up is a song you may have seen recently. All of you, of course, went to see the Grand Duke, right, in December, 2 months ago. And one of the show-stopping numbers in that production, in the second act, the show literally stops and allows this character, Julia Jellicoe, to have an extensive solo. So if you do not have someone that can command the stage for this kind of extensive solo, you are in big trouble. Fortunately, we had someone who could do exactly that and earned applause, lengthy applause at every performance, and you get to see it again now. Alexandra Zeski performing the role of Julia Jellicoe. The song is called So Ends My Dream. It's her big solo from Act 2 of The Grand Duke.
Supreme has vanished into
Thank you, Alexandra. Grand Duke, of course, was the last of the collaborations between Gilbert and Sullivan, debuted in March of 1896. And the first production by UMGASS of the Grand Duke was in November of 1973. It was the next to last of all of the collaborations that they produced. Only Utopia Limited was later. And we have now a song from that very Utopia Limited, the penultimate Gilbert and Sullivan collaboration, and the last of the 14 Gilbert and Sullivan operas to be produced by UMGASS. It debuted in December of 1981. The original was in October of 1893. UMGASS's first version was in December of 1981. And it's only been produced 3 times, only once more than Thespis, the last in December of 1999, so nearly 20 years ago. 1988 was the other production. In this particular number, it's called With Wily Brain, and it features 3 performers that you are already familiar with. Playing the role of Scafio, Natan Zamansky. Fantis will be played by Makoto Takata, and the role of Tarara by Matthew Grace.
With wily brain upon the spot of private thought, with hand the most ingenious private plots of private plot began. That's understood so far we've got, and striking on the iron spot. We'll now determine like a shot the details of this private plot. I think we ought.
Such wash I never heard. Ah, happy thoughts.
How utterly dashed absurd. I'll tell you how. Why, what was that in your head? I've got it now.
Oh, take him away to bed. Oh, put him to bed.
Oh, put him to bed. Oh, what put me to bed?
Yes, certainly put him to bed.
But bless me, don't you see?
Do listen to me, I pray.
It certainly seems to me. But this is the only way.
Absurd ground.
You talk ridiculous. You're a driveling pond.
You're a vapid and vain old muff. You're a vain old muff.
You're a driveling
You're a
pond.
vapid old vapid and vain old muff.
So far we haven't quite solved the plot. They're not the very ingenious lot. But don't be unhappy, it's still on the tap. We'll presently hit on a capital lot. Suppose we all
Now there I think you're right. Then we might all
We will, if we possibly can, and then on the spot.
Bravo, a capital plan.
That's exceedingly neat and new.
Exceedingly new and neat.
I fancy that that will do. It's certainly very complete.
Well done, you sly old cat.
Bravo, you clever old lord. You're a very ingenious chap.
You intellectual soul.
You're a very ingenious chap.
You intellectual soul.
At last, a capital plan we've got. We won't say how and we won't say what. It's safe in my novel, now off we would call and slightly develop this capital plot. At last, the capital plan we've got. We won't say how and we won't say what. It's safe in my novel, now off we would call and slightly develop this capital plot.
Thanks, guys. Next up, we will once again hear from Chris Kendall, reprising a role that he did a couple of years ago, not even that, just 14 months ago. The role of Prince Hilarion from Princess Ida, the 8th collaboration of Gilbert and Sullivan, premiered January 5th, 1884. It was the 9th show of theirs that UMGASS did, first in April of 1952, and last 14 months ago, which was the 12th production of that show. Just another note on the Utopia Limited group. The favorite desserts of the three were Rice Krispie Treats, rice pudding, and halava. And I'll let you figure out which of those desserts goes with which of the performers. But for now, please enjoy a reprise of Chris Kendall singing Ida Was a 12-Month-Old from Princess Ida.
Transmutations have been conjured by the silent alchemy of 20 years. Ida was a 12-month-old 20 years ago. I was twice her age, I'm told, 20 years ago. Husband twice as old as wife, argues here for married life. Baleful prophecies were rife, 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Still I was a tiny prince 20 years ago. She has gained upon me since 20 years ago. Though she is 21, it's true, I am barely 22. False and foolish prophets, you know, 20 years ago. 20 years ago.
No prop dolls were harmed in the making of this performance. I'd like to take a moment now for a special round of applause for someone who otherwise may not get his own, and that is for our accompanist, Rich Alder, who is playing for all our numbers tonight. Thank you, Rich. Next up, we were returning to HMS Pinafore, to the role to which Phil Rhodes was promoted in 2016. He didn't, I think, when he took the role, realize it was quite such a large role with so much dialogue. He had the advantage during many of his previous performances of being unemployed, but once he got employed, it kind of cut into his learning time for roles. So Captain Corcoran is the role, and the song is Fair Moon to Thee I Sing. Believe me, one of the most popular songs for baritones in Gilbert and Sullivan, because everyone always wants to audition with it. And now you'll hear the version that was heard in 2016, Phil Rhodes with Fair Moon to Thee I Sing.
Joseph storms, and sad to tell, he threatens a court-martial. Fair moon to thee I sing, bright regent of the heaven. Say, why is everything either at sixes or at sevens? Fair moon to thee I sing, bright regent of the
Thank you, Phil. Next up, we return to Ruddy Gore, back to the fishing village. This time to the dark and forbidding castle overlooking the fishing village. Our performers will be Don Regan and Laurie Gould, who you've heard from before, and the song is There Grew a Little Flower.
When the tempest 'gan to power, little heeded she, no need
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Don. I'd like to remind everyone, most of you probably know this, some of you may not, the price of tickets to an UMGASS show has remained very low over the years. Students can get in for as little as, say, $5 to the shows, and the top ticket price is only $25. And the money raised from ticket sales cannot hope to cover the budget of UMGASS shows, because we do the full production with a full orchestra, sets, costumes, etc., large casts, and the price of putting on one of these shows is at least twice the amount that we can possibly generate by ticket sales, which is why we survive on donations from our fabulous friends, including at benefit concerts like this, or through our partner organization, UMGASS, represented in the back here by Don Devine. So if you get a chance on your way out, please stop by the Jar. If you're watching as one of our millions of Facebook and Zion Lutheran live stream viewers, please go to the GoFundMe page and contribute to UMGASS, and we will continue semester after semester for the last 72 years and hopefully for another 72 years to put on the quality productions that you've come to expect from UMGASS. Next up is a solo number. Matt Grace will be performing that number, and just so you're not in suspense the entire night, it's the Rice Krispie treats, right? That's your favorite dessert. He'll be doing a song called When Jealous Torments Rack My Soul from the role of Wilfred Shadbolt in The Yeoman of the Guard. Yeoman of the Guard, of course, was the 11th Gilbert and Sullivan collaboration, premiered October 1888. The first production by UMGASS was in December 1948. It was their third show after Mikado and Pinafore. The third show they chose to do was The Yeoman of the Guard. And the most recent was in December 2013, so it's due to come up again pretty soon. So now please get a preview of that show yet to be scheduled with Matt Grace as Wilfred Shadbolt in Yeoman of the Guard.
On red-hot coals and love a heartless jade. The red-hot coals will hurt, no doubt, but red-hot coals in time die out. But jealousy you cannot rout, its fires will never fade. It's much less painful on the whole to go and sit on red-hot coals till you're completely flayed, or ask a kindly friend to crack your wretched bones upon the rack. Then love a heartless jade, then love a heartless jade. A kerchief on your neck of snow I look on as a deadly foe. It goeth where I dare not go and lie there all day long. The belt that holds you in its grasp is to my peace of mind a rasp. It clasps with what I cannot clasp. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's much less painful on the whole to go and sit on red-hot coals till you're completely flayed, or ask a kindly friend to crack your wretched bones upon the rack. Then love a heartless jade, then love a heartless jade. The bird that breakfast on your lip, I would I had him in my grip. He sippeth where I dare not sip, I can't get over that. The cat you fondle, soft and sly, he lieth where I dare not lie. We're not on terms, that cat and I do not like that cat. It's much less painful on the whole to go and sit on red-hot coals till you're completely flayed, or ask a kindly friend to crack your wretched bones upon the rack. Then love a heartless jade, then love a heartless jade. Then ask a kindly friend to crack your wretched bones upon the rack. Then
Little known fact, the Tower of London corridors had very low ceilings, which is why he had that. Next up is a song from The Mikado. We've heard one song from that. It was a quintet. This will be a solo, a featured solo for Caitlin Glimko, who you've seen up here before. It's, I think, probably my favorite soprano ballad from the Gilbert and Sullivan canon. It's called The Sun Whose Rays. It was originally, as many people know, an Act One song, and it wasn't until some 80 performances, I believe, into the run of the Mikado that they decided it was better positioned near the beginning of Act Two. But wherever they put it, it's a beautiful song, and we'll now hear Caitlin Glimko perform it for us. Now that Caitlin's been thoroughly enmeshed in UMGASS, I think we can collectively forgive her for having attended Notre Dame. We'll bring back Chris Kendall and Amanda Zaitis for one more reprise from The Pirates of Penzance, because you can never see enough Pirates of Penzance. I'm sure it'll be around in a couple of years. They do it on average every 4 years with UMGASS. So pretend it's now the spring of 2017. We were all much younger then. The song is called Stay, Frederick, Stay. Performing the role of Mabel will be Chris. No, I think that's wrong. Amanda, and performing the role of Frederick will be Chris Kendall.
Stay,
1940 I of age shall be. I'll then return and claim you, I declare it.
It seems so long.
Swear that till then you will be true to me.
Yes, I'll be strong. By all the Stanleys dead and gone, I swear it.
Oh, here is love, and here is truth, and here is truth for joyous laughter. She will be faithful to her suit, to be our wedding and even after. Oh, here is love, and here is truth. She will be faithful to her suit, to be our wedding even after. And even after. Oh, here is love, and here is truth, and here is truth for joyous laughter. She will be faithful to her soul, to be our wedding and even after. She will be faithful to her soul, till we are wed and even after. Oh, here is love, and here is truth. Oh, here is love, here is love.
Oh, now I see why they call it a banquet and a dance. There was the dance. Speaking of dancing, there's one show that has been conspicuously absent from our stage here tonight. It will be the 156th production done by UMGASS, 13 of which were double bills, and one was a triple bill, which was just last summer right in this very building. There have also been productions of Gilbert's Engaged and Eyes and No Eyes, which was part of the triple bill, Sullivan's Cox and Box, and several curtain raisers that I imagine were cobbled together much like this program. They were reviews of various Gilbert and Sullivan numbers. Also, of course, Oliver and Paint Your Wagon. How about those two? Those were the two non-GNS productions that were done back in the 60s. But production number 156 here in 2019 will be The Gondoliers. It's coming up. It opens April 18th, I believe is opening night, April 18th through 21st, a little over 2 months from now. So other than what you will see here right now, you have to pay to see that one. Also, since this is the last number and I don't want to keep you any longer than I need to, please remember on your way out, as you pass the big glass jar, to drop a donation in the jar, or the wicker basket. The wicker basket taken directly from the prop room and formerly used in... Okay. Bryn RuPaul found it underneath the desk, so put your donations right in there. But before you go, our last number will be from the Gondoliers, and it will feature essentially the whole group here, right? So just prior to the number, let's have a round of applause for the various members of the group. And I'm sure the performance of this song from the Gondoliers will merit another round of applause at the end. You'll also be applauding for yourselves because this is yet another audience participation number, so please look in your program. Find your Italian lyrics. I think they're in Italian. Is that Italian? Okay. And sing along with the group as they perform Once More Gondolieri from the Gondoliers. Thank you, everybody. Your UMGASS volunteers, everybody please have a safe drive home. I don't know how much snow we eventually got, but please take your time and drive home safely. And please join us for the Gondoliers in April.